All right, so moving on to the next part about fluid resistance. Now, before we get into all this stuff, I want to direct your attention to this. I just couldn't fit it on the prior bit, but it's something to do with drag. So there are two types of drag that objects or people experience. They are being profile drag and surface drag. Profile drag is very simply drag, and drag, remember being resistance, is created simply by the shape of an object, okay? So larger things will have more profile drag, all right? Or things that have like haphazard sticky uppy bits will have more profile drag than like nice little slimline things, all right? The other thing is surface drag. So surface drag is the second type of drag, which is simply created by the texture of an object. So obviously for athletes, for objects, for everything to travel faster through fluids, we want to try and reduce both of these things. So we, one, will reduce the size of a thing or streamline the shape of a thing as best as possible. And two, change the surface of it so that the texture of it is as smooth as possible. All right? Yeah. So let's look at this. Fluid resistance. Second thing, so when an object like a ball specifically travels through air, all right? We experience all of these things. Now this picture is taken straight out of your class notes again. I've done my best to try and draw it, but my drawings suck and I'm aware. Don't hate me. So as the ball travels through the air, all right, and the airflow is coming at it, the first section of air at the front here is called our laminar flow. So laminar flow is basically the undisturbed air before the object. So imagine my hand is a ball and it's traveling through air. This air here, which the ball has yet to hit, is called laminar flow. It's just normal undisturbed air. As the ball hits the laminar flow, okay, it will start to create like a turbulent layer and the turbulent flow which goes around the object. So turbulent layer or turbulent flow is the air resistance created from disturbed laminar flow. All right. So now we're creating this turbulence. Oh, by the way, the whole outside of the thing is called the boundary layer, so that's just the air around it. So think of it like a capsule, right? So our ball or our object or whatever it is traveling through the air, it hits laminar flow, it creates turbulent air, and then all that turbulent air ends up behind the object, obviously, because the object's moving through air, and that turbulence starts to build up, and it creates a wake. So created by profile drag, mainly, so the shape of the object. And a wake is basically a low pressure system behind objects. This is really easy to think of if you think of wakeboarding, okay? Which is obviously in fluid, being water. The boat itself creates a wake, all right? The larger the boat or the shape of the boat itself will mean a larger wake, and therefore there is more resistance being created by that object. So when the boat goes through the water, they're generally not slimline speedboats. They're generally big things with big motors to try and create a larger wake for the wakeboarder itself to have basically more jumps, okay? So objects create wakes, and that's also like the whole huddling thing I was explaining before. Cars getting behind other cars can sit in that low pressure system, which is the wake, and therefore use it to their advantage. Yeah, however, the last thing I'll finish off with this is it's saying that larger wakes equal larger resistance. So to a degree, wakes can be good if you're trying to take advantage of it as a competitor, but as an athlete itself, you want to try and reduce your wake as much as possible, because smaller wakes mean less resistance, and less resistance means you yourself are traveling faster, all right? So competitors will use this by obviously finding other competitors who are ahead of them, be in their wake, all right, and therefore it will reduce their fluid resistance experience, and therefore they will be able to go further or overtake them. Whew, one more, we're nearly done. Last concept, the Magnus effect, all right? This is purely to do with spinning objects, okay? So spinning objects through fluid create a wake which is not directly behind the object, and that low pressure system, all right, draws the object in that direction. Now this is something that athletes do train a lot for, okay? So through modifying technique and learning to harness the Magnus effect, athletes are able to basically make objects travel or deviate from a straight path to where they want it to go, which does advantage them, okay? So I've got 4 examples here: top spin, backspin, draw, and fade. A top spin, all right? Top spin, as you're playing tennis or anything where you connect with the ball, and you hit the ball in such a way that it starts spinning this way, all right? So I've drawn arrows. So what happens is that instead of the wake being generated behind the object here, the wake is actually generated below it, all right, in the direction of the spin, and therefore it will pull the object down towards the ground. So if you top spin something, it will go down faster than a normal strike would. The opposite to that is the backspin. So if I get underneath a ball and I try and backspin it as much as possible, it will basically spin in that direction towards me, and it will flick upwards, and it will sort of hang there for a bit before coming down to the ground, because the wake this time is being generated in the top section, and therefore bringing the object up. Draw and fade. So this is like left and right. So imagine these balls. I've drawn like a straight arrow to try and imagine they're coming at you, the camera. All right. But this time I've hit it in such a way that the ball is spinning like this. All right, so it's traveling straight, and instead of it going like top spin, which would be like this, or back spin, which would be back towards me, it's spinning towards that way. All right. Now, because it's spinning towards that way, the drag itself, or the wake, is off center to the left, and therefore it will take the ball to the left. And a fade is the opposite thing. Ball spinning that way as you hit it. The wake is off center to the right, and therefore the ball will travel right. So like this is used all the time in sports. Golf is an easy one, tennis is an easy one, league and kicking is another one, all right? 10-pin bowling, trying to spin the ball, etc. So there are many examples of where athletes will train their technique to utilize the Magnus effect, to use fluid resistance, because remember wakes are created by resistance, to their advantage. So fluid resistance is not always a bad thing. Now, the last thing I'll do, because you guys seemed to like this last time, I'm going to read out, on the last page of your notes is this section here. And it's basically stuff I've already covered in this video. And if a lot of this video has gone over your head, that's okay, all right? As long as you can understand these points. I'll read them out very slowly. To try and reduce profile drag and therefore turbulence, athletes will do a variety of things. One, with their technique. Cyclists, speed skaters, downhill skaters, for example, will all bend forward at the trunk to reduce profile drag. Tactics. Distance runners and cyclists will follow one another closely where possible to reduce the drag that they experience, therefore they don't fatigue as quickly. Clothing. So tight bodysuits made of special friction-reducing fabrics are worn by runners, cyclists, swimmers, and basically everybody these days. Everybody loves Lycra. And the last one being equipment design. So design of equipment such as golf balls, which can improve spin, all right? Golf clubs, cricket bats, bike helmets, footballs, and surfboards, etc. are continually being modified to make them more aerodynamically efficient, which reduces their drag, which therefore increases the speed that they're able to travel at. So yeah, it's, like I said, the sort of complexities around this are evident. However, when you start writing about it and when you implement this stuff, it's not too hard to get. But that was fluid mechanics. Thanks, bye.